I drop my hospital badge on the kitchen counter, still in blue scrubs after a 12-hour shift. Every muscle throbs, but Nina will be hungry soon. I open the freezer, searching for something quick. Chicken tenders, frozen vegetables. Good enough, Nora. Could you come in here? Dad's voice calls from the dining room, calm but heavy, the kind of calm that signals trouble. Just a minute. I slide the chicken into the microwave, set it for 3 minutes, and start it humming. Dinner for Nina can wait a little. Mom and Dad are seated at opposite ends of the oak dining table, the formal setup we usually save for holidays or when Pastor Miller visits. Papers are spread between them, white sheets against the worn surface. Nina's wheelchair is stationed on the fourth side. Dad's gray-flecked mustache twitches as I enter. Sit down. No greeting, no small talk, just an order. I sit, noticing Mom's tense expression and how Nina stares at her hands folded tightly in her lap. What's going on? I ask, though the sinking feeling in my stomach already tells me it won't be good. Dad slides a stack of documents toward me, his signet ring glinting under the light. Your mother and I are getting older. It's time we formalize Nina's care. I glance at the first page. Caregiver agreement is printed in bold across the top. Farther down, responsible party, Nora Ann Reed. I don't understand. It's simple, Mom says, voice soft but firm. You'll cash out your 401k to create a care fund for Nina. Then you'll contribute $2,000 monthly for her expenses. The room tilts slightly. $2,000? Every month? Dad leans forward, fingers steepled. You earn $70,000 a year as a nurse. That's over $4,000 a month. We're only asking for half. But my student loans, my rent? Don't use that as an excuse, Mom cuts in sharply. You have $60,000 in your 401k. Cash it out. You'll still have around $40,000 after taxes. My hands tremble. I press them flat on the table, fighting the nausea rising in my throat. This feels sudden. Nothing sudden about it, Dad replies. You've been responsible for your sister since the accident. We're just making it official. I stare at the papers, my name repeated again and again. Responsible party financial obligations. Legally binding. My vision blurs as I try to make sense of it. Sign today and we'll file it tomorrow, Dad says. Pushing a pen toward me, a memory flashes, me at 16, sitting by Nina's hospital bed, braiding her hair while machines beep softly around us. I'll always take care of you, I'd whispered then, promising through tears. Now Nina meets my gaze for a second before looking away. She doesn't say a word. Why is this all on me? The question escapes barely above a whisper. We're all family. Dad's expression hardens. You're the reason she's in that wheelchair. The old ache of guilt returns, but beneath it, a new thought stirs. A question I've never dared to ask. 11 years of this, and now you want it written down? Mom smooths invisible wrinkles on the tablecloth. The arrangement has always been clear, she says calmly. You decided to feed stray cats instead of walking Nina to the bus stop. Your negligence cost her everything. Each word lands with practiced precision. I've heard this speech countless times. 14-year-old Nina missed her bus because I wasn't there. She tried to catch it at the next stop, cross the street without looking, and a delivery truck couldn't brake in time. My fault. Always my fault. I need time to think about this. My voice steadies in a way that surprises me. Dad raises an eyebrow. There's nothing to think about. You owe this to your sister. Just a day or two, I insist. Sign it now, Mom says firmly. Or we'll tell everyone at the hospital how you're abandoning your duty. Your supervisor at Denver Memorial, your church friends, everyone will know. The threat lingers between us. They understand exactly how my life revolves around what happened, how the hospital staff respects my care for my paralyzed sister, how the church praises my devotion. You wouldn't do that. Try us, Dad says, his voice low and cold. Pastor Miller thinks you're practically a saint. Imagine his disappointment. Nina stays silent, her wheelchair positioned perfectly between me and my parents. I pick up the pen, hands trembling, and hover it above the signature line. My whole future reduced to one stroke of ink. Then I set the pen down gently. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Dad starts to protest. But I'm already standing, legs weak beneath me. In my room, I lock the door and sink to the floor, my back against the wall. My hands shake too hard to type. I scroll through my contacts and find a name I haven't called in years. The phone rings 3 times. Nora? Evelyn sounds surprised. It's been forever. Are you okay? The concern in her voice breaks something inside me. Tears fall as I struggle to speak. They want everything, my retirement, my paycheck. I don't know what to do. Slow down, Evelyn says, her lawyer instincts taking over. Start from the beginning. Tell me exactly what happened. Between sobs, I explain the confrontation, the papers, the threats. Evelyn listens quietly, then asks the question that steals my breath. Nora, have you ever seen the actual police report from Nina's accident? No, I whisper. Memories shift like puzzle pieces. They handled everything. I was 16, shocked and grieving. They told me what happened. Silence stretches before I voice the thought forming in the back of my mind. What if it wasn't my fault after all? 3 days later, I sit in a quiet coffee shop, far from my parents' reach. My hands still tremble as I hold the warm mug. Steam rises, fading like the life I thought I knew. Evelyn slides into the booth across from me, her briefcase landing with a soft thud on the table. The carefree college friend I remember is gone. In her place is a composed attorney in a charcoal suit, hair pulled tight, eyes focused. You look terrible, she says bluntly. That's the Evelyn I remember. 12-hour shifts and avoiding my family will do that. I force a weak smile. Haven't been back to the house except to sleep since, you know. She unlatches her briefcase with 2 soft clicks. I found the police report. The words hang between us, heavy and real. I stare at the manila folder she places on the table, sharp-edged, official, holding either my sentence or my freedom. How bad is it? My voice sounds small, uncertain. Evelyn doesn't answer right away. She opens the folder and turns it toward me. Read it yourself. The printed words blur as I focus. Location of accident, Westridge Road in Maple, 3.8 miles from our neighborhood. Time, 3:42 p.m. Vehicle involved, 1998, Honda motorcycle. Driver, Jason Miller, age 17. Passenger, Nina Reed, age 14. This can't be right. I flip through the pages, scanning witness statements. It says she was on a motorcycle with some boy, miles away from where I was feeding the cats. Keep reading. Evelyn's tone stays calm. A line in a witness report catches my eye. Female passenger was laughing, arms around the driver's waist. Motorcycle tried to beat yellow light. Delivery truck had green when the crash occurred. But they said she missed her bus because I wasn't there. That she was running to catch it at the next stop. My throat tightens, choking off the rest. They lied, Nora. Evelyn's hand covers mine, steady and warm. They lied about everything. The cafe walls seemed to tilt around me. 11 years of guilt. 11 years of lost dreams, double shifts, endless apologies for something I didn't do. Nina was joyriding with her secret boyfriend, Evelyn continues, voice low. Jason Miller, captain of the JV basketball team. Your parents forbade her from seeing him, remember? Too old, too reckless. Memories resurface. Nina whispering late at night, secret texts, sudden interest in basketball games. Details I'd buried beneath years of remorse. Several witnesses confirmed it. Evelyn flips another page. Nina skipped the bus that day to meet Jason. They were heading to the lake when they ran the light. My stomach twists. I rush to the bathroom, barely making it before I throw up my breakfast. Cold sweat clings to my skin. I rinse my mouth and stare at my reflection. Pale, hollow, a ghost built from other people's lies. When I return, Evelyn has ordered fresh tea. The report waits on the table like a verdict. The hospital records, I whisper, lowering myself into the booth. The ones I wasn't allowed to see because I was too emotional. They knew the truth from the start, didn't they? Evelyn nods, her professional calm returning. I spoke with the nurse who was on duty when Nina arrived. Your parents began shaping the story right there in the trauma room. While doctors worked on her, your father was already insisting you were responsible. The betrayal cuts deep, radiating through me. Why would they do that to me? Money at first, then control. Evelyn pulls more papers from her bag. Your grandmother left you $20,000 when she died. 3 months after the accident, your parents claimed they needed it for Nina's medical bills, but her treatment was covered by insurance. A buried memory returns, signing documents while crying in Nina's hospital room. Dad's hand heavy on my shoulder. For your sister's future, he'd said. They made me delay college, I murmur. Said Nina needed me home for her recovery. I worked days, took night classes, watched her between shifts. And your nursing degree? Evelyn asks. Who made that decision? Her question stings. Mom said it made sense, that I'd be better equipped to care for Nina. Evelyn slides another paper forward. Yet nurses earn far less than engineers. Your original career path would have paid nearly twice as much. My mind spins, counting the years, recalculating 11 years of manipulation. The guilt trips whenever I talked about moving out. The constant reminders of my duties. Nina's occasional tearful apologies that never quite made sense, until now. They'd been preparing this agreement for months. The realization escapes me aloud. That's why they kept asking about my 401. Evelyn nods. Exactly. Without this document, they have no legal ground for any demands. They're scared, Nora. Scared of what? Losing their personal ATM? Bitterness burns in my throat. That's part of it. Evelyn pauses. I looked into it. Your parents are drowning financially. Second mortgage, credit card debt, medical expenses insurance didn't cover. Your father's been unemployed for 6 months. The truth should ease my anger, but instead, it sharpens into something cold and deliberate. He never mentioned it. All those fundraisers, the respect he commands in church, it's all a front. People act out of fear, Evelyn says quietly. Your mother had a breakdown during that church event last month. Pastor Miller thought it was about Nina's health, but it was the financial strain. The pieces fall into place with grim clarity. And Nina? Did she know? She must have, Evelyn confirms softly. She's 14, not 4. She remembers the accident. The betrayal from my sister hits hardest. 11 years of silence while I carried the weight alone. They're not monsters, Evelyn cautions, sensing my expression. They're terrified of losing everything. Their home, Nina's treatments. Your mother truly believes your sacrifice is essential for Nina's future. But that doesn't make it fair. No, I reply firmly. It doesn't. Evelyn shuts the folder with finality. The good news is they have no case. The statute of limitations expired years ago. Even if the accident had been your fault, which it wasn't, they can't legally demand support. For the first time in days, a faint sense of relief flickers within me. So, what's next? We build a stronger case, Evelyn says, counting on her fingers. Police report, witness statements, Nina's ex-boyfriend's account, your Aunt Laura, who overheard them at the hospital. Jason Miller still lives in Denver, right? I blink, remembering. Yeah, he coaches basketball at Westridge High. Perfect. She scrolls through her phone. Marcus Bennett, investigative journalist. He specializes in exposing family fraud. Remember that story about the couple who faked their child's illness for donations? The scale of what we're planning suddenly sinks in. This could destroy my family. Evelyn's voice softens. Your family shattered itself the moment they decided your future was expendable. But this isn't revenge, Nora. It's liberation. For you and for Nina. I glance at the police report, at truths buried for over a decade. Will Nina hate me for this? She might at first, Evelyn admits. Change is frightening, especially for those dependent on others. But you're not alone now. You've got me, Marcus, your aunt, people who believe in the truth. For the first time in 11 years, the crushing weight eases slightly. The road ahead is uncertain but not impossible. Okay, I say, straightening my shoulders. Let's do it. As we collect the documents and plan our next steps, I picture my 16-year-old self crying at Nina's bedside, vowing lifelong care for a sin I never committed. That girl deserves justice, just as the woman I've become deserves freedom. We have the truth now. And once revealed, truth can never be buried again. That same day, I find Jason Miller's profile online. Wedding photos, 2 smiling kids, a quiet suburban life. He seems untouched by the ghosts that still haunt me. Are you sure about this? Evelyn asks, watching from behind me. No, but I don't have another choice. I click the message button and type, "Were you with Nina the day of her accident?" Minutes later, my phone vibrates. A local number. Nora? It's Jason. I got your message. His voice is deeper now, but the same uncertain tone lingers. I've been waiting 11 years for this call. My heart pounds hard in my chest. What do you mean? I ask. He exhales sharply. I've carried this guilt for years, he says, his words spilling out fast. Nina made me promise not to tell anyone she was riding with me. She didn't want to wear a helmet. It would ruin her hair before the party that weekend. The room spins. I grip the edge of the table to keep steady. Your parents came to the hospital while you were getting coffee, he continues. They told me if I ever mentioned the motorcycle, they'd have me charged for endangering a minor. His voice shakes. I was 17, terrified. When they started telling everyone about the bus stop and the stray cats, I just went along with it. Why tell me now? My voice sounds foreign to me, strained, tired. My wife saw your message, he says quietly. She's been telling me for years to confess. He pauses. Nina knows I'm calling you. We've kept in touch. She knew. All this time, your sister knew. Will you sign a statement about what really happened? I ask. I'm already writing it, he says. I'll have it notarized tomorrow. When I hang up, Evelyn squeezes my shoulder. Another piece of evidence. Now let's call your Aunt Laura. Aunt Laura's statement comes easily. Too easily. Like she's been waiting years to let this out. I was taking flowers to Nina's room when I overheard your parents in the hallway, she begins, her voice trembling. Your mother said, don't let anyone know she was with that boy. We'll say Nora was supposed to walk her to the bus. And your father said, Nora's responsible. She'll take the blame. Her voice breaks. I should have spoken up back then. I'm so sorry, Nora. By Sunday afternoon, everything is in place. I time my visit for when Nina is at therapy with her weekend caregiver. The living room feels smaller as I face my parents, the police report tight in my hand. Dad looks up from his newspaper, his eyes narrowing. What's going on? I know the truth about the accident, I say, steadier than I expected. It happened miles from the bus stop, on Jason's motorcycle. Dad's face drains of color, his hands gripping the recliner's arms. Mom speaks first. We were protecting Nina from scandal. You were old enough to take responsibility. She says it like it's reasonable, like ruining one daughter to protect. Another makes sense. You made me believe I destroyed my sister's life. My voice doesn't rise, but something inside it makes them both recoil. For 11 years, I've carried that guilt. Dad leans forward, pleading. It doesn't change your duty to your sister. I never abandoned Nina, and I never will, I say firmly. The words come from somewhere deep, beneath years of forced guilt. But I'm not signing those papers. Not tomorrow. Not ever. I turn and walk out, my back straight, head high. The door closes softly behind me, a quiet sound that feels more final than a slam. Evelyn waits at the curb, engine running. Her eyes widen when she sees me. You look 10 pounds lighter, she says. Tears spill suddenly, not from pain, but from release, as if my body is finally purging years of poison. It worked. I managed through sobs. They admitted everything. This is just the beginning, Evelyn replies, pulling away. We're going to make things right. My phone buzzes, a text from Aunt Laura. My guest room is ready whenever you need it. I should have spoken up years ago. Then Marcus calls. I've been reviewing your parents' finances, he says. There's proof they've been using your contributions to pay their mortgage, not just Nina's expenses. This is exactly the kind of family fraud case that needs to be exposed. As we drive away from the house that's held my guilt for over a decade, I watch it shrink in the mirror. For the first time, I wonder, should I give them time to confess or move forward now? The answer forms easily. No more time. No more lies. I need to talk to Nina when she returns from therapy. She deserves to know I've uncovered the truth, and that I don't blame her for staying silent. We've both been victims in different ways. It's time for both of us to be free. Monday morning, I sip cold coffee, grimacing at its bitterness as I face the whiteboard in Evelyn's office. The timeline spans the wall. 11 years of manipulation mapped in blue marker. Each sticky note marks a moment when my parents used my guilt for money, time, or control. We need to predict their next move, Evelyn says, capping her marker. Her tailored suit and composed tone steady me as I try to grasp the weight of what we're uncovering. They won't back down now that you've presented the police report, she says. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead while I nod, forcing myself to study the board with calm detachment. My nursing instincts activate, evaluate the situation, identify risks, and form an action plan. Martin always retaliates when he's cornered, I say, pointing to the records from 2018 and 2021. When I questioned why my inheritance from Grandma funded Nina's treatments, he told Pastor Miller I was becoming resentful of my Christian duty. And later, when I planned to move into my own place, he claimed Nina suffered a setback that required constant care. Marcus enters carrying a stack of manila folders. placing them on the conference table with a firm thud. His investigative instincts have been invaluable this past week. "You were right about the financial trail," he says, opening a folder. "I compared your contributions with Nina's medical costs over the last 5 years. Less than 40% of what you gave actually went toward her care." My stomach knots as I scan the spreadsheets. Where did the rest go? Mortgage payments, credit cards, even a fishing boat purchased 3 years ago, Marcus says, pointing to a highlighted line. "And here's something else. They've been paying for a Florida timeshare since 2020. The betrayal burns, but I push the emotion aside. This isn't about hurt feelings anymore, it's organized deception. We're building this case like a patient safety investigation, I say, reverting to familiar ground. Documentation, pattern analysis, witness statements. Evelyn nods. Exactly. Emotional confrontations won't work on manipulators this skilled. We dismantle their control step by step. Over the next few hours, we compile our evidence with precise coordination. Jason's written account of the accident and my parents' threats. The financial documents showing misuse and medical records exposing fake treatments. A strange calm settles over me as we work. For years, I've approached my family with guilt and fear. Now I'm analyzing it with the same objectivity I use for complex patient cases. Marcus taps his pen thoughtfully. The insurance aspect is especially troubling. Multiple claims for Nina's equipment were filed but never fulfilled. That's clear fraud. I've spoken with 3 of your colleagues at Denver Memorial, Evelyn adds. They described your exhaustion, how you were working double shifts and caring for Nina at home. Dr. Harriman said he's seen you fall asleep standing during 12-hour shifts. The office phone rings, breaking the silence. Evelyn answers, listening carefully. Yes, she's here. I understand. We'll review it immediately. She hangs up and turns to me. Your parents just hired Patricia Lambert, Marcus frowns. The family support attorney? That's serious. Evelyn's expression hardens. My assistant received a formal demand letter. They're claiming moral obligation and threatening to seek guardianship of Nina if you don't meet their financial terms. My hands tremble. The first crack in my composure. Patricia Lambert is known for her aggressive tactics in family cases. The idea of a court battle sends a rush of panic through me. Can they actually take guardianship of Nina? No, Evelyn replies firmly. But they're using intimidation. The legal costs alone could exhaust your remaining savings. Marcus studies me carefully. Are you holding up? I inhale deeply, steadying myself. The fear fades, replaced by unexpected clarity. They're trying to intimidate me because they know I hold the truth. I glance at my allies, determination settling firmly within me. How far will they go to protect their lies? The question lingers, unspoken, between us. For 11 years, my parents have built a web of deception, manipulating everyone around them. They've taken my money, my time, my peace. They won't give up easily, but neither will I. 3 days after gathering new evidence, I spread the documents across Evelyn's polished mahogany conference table. Every file is carefully labeled and arranged in chronological order. The police report sits in the center, its letterhead a stark reminder of the truth I was never allowed to see. This is everything? Evelyn asks, scanning our checklist. Every piece of evidence from the past 11 years, I reply, adjusting my reading glasses. Still unfamiliar after years of neglecting my vision for other priorities. These include the new findings, plus the older ones, Jason's sworn statement about the motorcycle accident, Nina's medical records for treatments that never occurred, and bank statements showing where my funds truly went. Marcus walks in with a thick manila folder. His attention to detail as an investigative journalist has been crucial these past weeks. I found something, he says, placing a document on the table. Your parents took out a second mortgage 6 months ago, using your signature. My stomach tightens. I never signed anything. Exactly, Marcus says, pointing to the line. It's forged. The bank's forensic examiner confirmed it yesterday. Evelyn adds the document to our binder. This isn't just manipulation anymore. It's criminal fraud. I study the forged signature. Even in deception, my father's controlling nature shows through. I've filed a restraining order, Evelyn adds. That should stop further harassment while we finalize our case. Behind her, the whiteboard outlines our 11-year timeline of systematic deceit, reduced to bullet points and arrows. Seeing it mapped out clears the emotional fog that once clouded my judgment. Nina's medical records were the last piece, I say, tapping a folder with files from 3 specialists. Half the treatments they claimed my money paid for never took place. The physical therapy center has no record of the sessions they mentioned at church fundraisers. Marcus lets out a low whistle. This goes beyond a family dispute. It's organized fraud. We're not just uncovering lies, I say, my voice steady. We're dismantling a decade of corruption. My phone vibrates on the table. The hospital administration. I hesitate, then answer. Nora Reed speaking. Ms. Reed, this is Melissa from HR, a voice says. You're required to come in immediately regarding serious allegations about your conduct. A chill spreads through me. What allegations? Your father contacted our ethics hotline. He claims you've been stealing prescription drugs for personal profit. The words steal my breath. I put the call on speaker for Evelyn and Marcus to hear. I'll be there in 30 minutes, I manage before hanging up. They're escalating, Evelyn says, already gathering papers. They've discovered our investigation and are attacking your weakest point, your career. The floor feels like it's tilting beneath me. Everything I've worked for is at risk. It's a desperate move, Marcus says. They're hoping fear will make you back down. I have to deal with this now, I reply, collecting my credentials. The hospital has cameras in every medication area. Their claim won't hold up. I'll come with you, Evelyn insists, as your attorney. 2 hours later, I sit across from my supervisor, Janet, while hospital security reviews the medication logs. My tension eases as she closes the file. These accusations are unfounded, she says calmly. Your record is flawless. Nora, I'm sorry you're dealing with this family crisis. Outside in the parking lot, Evelyn gives my hand a reassuring squeeze. You handled that perfectly. Calm, professional, and nothing like the breakdown your parents were expecting. Should I confront them now? I wonder, watching the afternoon sun reflect off the hospital windows, or wait until our case is fully solid. The next morning, back in Evelyn's office, we meet for our final strategy session. The evidence binders are ready, every page tagged and organized. Marcus has prepared a digital timeline showing every step of their manipulation. I've reached out to everyone who saw their behavior over the years, Marcus reports. Former neighbors, church members, even Nina's doctors who noticed inconsistent stories about her treatment. The financial evidence alone could dismantle their defense, Evelyn adds. The forged mortgage documents give us strong leverage. I study the collection before me, the result of weeks of careful work. The change feels tangible. Guilt replaced by a clear sense of purpose. We're ready, I say, voice steady. It's time to finish this. The following Wednesday, the doorbell rings, breaking my thoughts as I smooth my navy slacks. My phone buzzes. Evelyn's text reads, "We're in position. Stay calm." These last few weeks have felt like battle training, gathering evidence, crafting arguments, documenting years of deceit. Now, standing in my childhood living room, surrounded by family with somber faces, I realize no amount of preparation could make this easier. Mom ushers everyone toward the dining room, transformed into what looks like a tribunal. Extra chairs encircle the oak table, each with a glass of water and a notepad, like a family meeting turned corporate hearing. Dad stands at the head, shoulders squared in his Sunday suit. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," he begins, voice carrying the same rehearsed sincerity that once deceived me too. This is hard, but family matters should be handled within the family. I glance around the table. Uncle Robert, Aunt Patricia, Mom's sister Grace, 2 church elders, Pastor Miller with his Bible placed carefully before him, and a silver-haired attorney who must represent them. Nina sits quietly, eyes lowered. Dad continues as Mom hands out stapled packets. For those unaware, Nora has been caring for Nina since the accident 11 years ago. Recently, she's chosen to step away from that duty. The accusation hits hard, just as they intended. Shocked murmurs spread through the room. "That's not true," I start, but Dad raises a hand. "Please, let me finish," he says, his tone thick with false emotion. "We've supported Nina's expenses as much as possible. But with Martin's health problems, working full-time has been difficult. First lie. He lost his job for poor performance. Mom seamlessly takes over, flipping through a binder of medical bills. These are only from the past 6 months. Without Nora's help, Nina's therapy will end completely. Second lie. Insurance covers most of it. Nora earns $70,000 a year as a nurse," Dad adds, his eyes glistening on cue. We're only asking for $2,000 monthly. She can even use her retirement savings to start a care fund. Uncle Robert turns to me, disappointment clouding his face. How could you do this to your sister? The room feels stifling, walls closing in as everyone absorbs their well-rehearsed story. Pastor Miller clears his throat. Maybe Christian mediation could help, he suggests gently. Nora, your sister needs you. Surely there's a way to resolve this within the family. The attorney slides a document toward me. I've drafted a simple caregiver agreement. Once signed, we can ensure Nina's needs are met. Every eye turns to me. This is what they wanted: public pressure, moral guilt, and social judgment to force compliance. Nina stays silent, her quietness mistaken for agreement. My phone vibrates again, the signal we planned. I rise, surprised at how calm I sound. Before anyone signs anything, I begin. I'd like to introduce someone. Right on cue, the doorbell rings. Mom frowns, clearly irritated at the interruption of her perfectly arranged scene. Who could that be? She asks sharply. My attorney, I reply evenly, watching her expression falter. And a journalist who's been helping me uncover what really happened 11 years ago. Dad's grip tightens on his pen. This is a private family matter. It stopped being private when you invited the church elders and your lawyer, I respond, moving toward the door. Evelyn enters first, poised and confident in her charcoal suit, followed by Marcus, recorder and press credentials visible. Behind them steps Aunt Laura, Mom's youngest sister, who worked at the hospital when Nina was admitted. What is she doing here? Mom demands, rising to her feet. Supporting the truth, Aunt Laura steps forward to stand beside me. Pastor Miller looks puzzled as Evelyn introduces herself. I'm Evelyn Carter, representing Nora Reed. I understand you've been discussing a caregiving agreement based on false information. This is ridiculous. Dad sputters, his usual composure beginning to crack. Nina has been paralyzed for 11 years because Nora failed to walk her to the bus. Everyone here knows that story. That's the story you told, I correct him, strangely calm now that this moment has arrived. But that's not what really happened, is it, Dad? Marcus sets his recorder at the edge of the table. Martin and Diane Reed, he begins. I'm Marcus Bennett with the Denver Chronicle. I've been looking into your financial dealings related to your daughter's care. Mom's face twists with outrage. How dare you bring outsiders into our home to accuse us after everything we've done for Nina? After everything you've done? The words slip out with a bitter laugh. You spent 11 years making me believe I ruined my sister's life. You took my college fund, grandma's inheritance, and half my paycheck every month, telling me it was my duty. The room falls silent. Relatives exchange uneasy looks. Pastor Miller leans forward, his confidence replaced by doubt. Nora, these are serious accusations. Yes, they are. I turn toward the gathered family. Before anyone signs anything, there's something you all need to see. Evelyn opens her briefcase and hands out manila folders to everyone present. I catch Nina's eye across the table. There's fear there, but something else too. Maybe relief, Nina, I say softly. After 11 years, isn't it time for the truth? Tears well in her eyes as she looks up, gripping the wheels of her chair tightly. The folder before her holds what the others don't. Photos of her with Jason on his motorcycle, taken the morning of the accident. I've carried this for so long, she whispers faintly. Evelyn places the last folder before Pastor Miller. Inside are the police report, witness statements, and financial records revealing over a decade of deception. The crash happened 3.8 miles from the bus stop, on a motorcycle with Nina's boyfriend, against her parents' wishes. Uncle Robert opens his folder, his face draining of color as he reads. This says the accident had nothing to do with missing the bus. Nothing at all, I confirm, watching my parents' carefully built facade collapse. They lied to everyone, including me, from the moment Nina was hospitalized. Aunt Laura's voice trembles slightly as she speaks. I was there that day. I overheard Martin telling Diane to make sure no one found out Nina was with that boy. They made up the bus stop story before she even went into surgery. Pastor Miller turns to my father, shock written on his face. Is this true, Martin? The silence that follows is heavy and suffocating as everyone waits for a denial that never comes. Mom's lips press into a thin, pale line. Dad's jaw moves soundlessly, his false image shattering under the weight of undeniable proof. Nina breaks the silence, her voice soft, but strengthening with each word. I skipped the bus to ride with Jason. Mom and Dad always said Nora would be blamed because she was supposed to be watching me. Her eyes meet mine. I let them do this to you. For 11 years, I stayed silent. The tears I've been fighting threaten to fall, but I hold them back. This isn't over yet, I say gently. I'm sorry, Nina. I reach toward her, almost touching. I would have helped you regardless. There was never a need to lie, Pastor Miller says, his earlier confidence giving way to deep concern. Marcus steps forward, recorder in hand. I'd like to ask a few questions about the church fund set up for Nina's treatments. The air in the room changes. Fear begins to fade, replaced by a sense of accountability. My parents, once certain in their deception, now sit motionless as the truth begins to dismantle their carefully built illusion. I stay standing, surrounded by those who helped uncover everything, finally prepared for what's ahead. I stayed silent because I was ashamed, Nina says, tears falling freely. I begged Jason not to tell anyone. I was 14 and terrified of getting in trouble. Her hands tighten on her wheelchair as she moves closer to the center of the room. When Mom and Dad blame Nora, I was too scared to speak up. And it just kept going, year after year. Her voice trembles. I let you carry that burden for 11 years. I'm so sorry. The shift in the room is immediate. Uncle Robert's expression hardens as he looks at my father. Aunt Sarah sits beside me, her hand finding mine. Pastor Miller closes his Bible with a quiet thud. This betrayal violates everything our community stands for, he says, turning to face my parents. You've manipulated not only your daughters, but this entire congregation. Elder Peterson rises slowly. The church fund was meant for Nina's treatments, not to pay off your mortgage. My parents shrink under the weight of judgment as the power they once held dissolves. Marcus continues recording. I've got everything I need for a detailed story on this family fraud, he whispers to me. I never abandoned you, Nina, I say, kneeling beside her wheelchair. I just couldn't live with the lies anymore. Nina reaches for my hand, gripping it tightly. I knew it was wrong, but I was too afraid to speak. Can you forgive me? I pull her into a hug. There's nothing to forgive. We were both victims. Elder Peterson clears his throat. The church board will investigate the misuse of donated funds. Evelyn steps forward. To clarify, Nora was never legally obligated to provide financial support for Nina. Pastor Miller nods solemnly. From now on, the church will ensure proper oversight of Nina's care. My parents stand side by side, isolated among people who now see them for who they truly are. Mom reaches for her purse, Dad for his keys. I think we're done here, Dad says flatly. No one stops them. No one says goodbye. As the door closes, I stay beside Nina, our hands still joined. The weight of 11 years lifts from my shoulders, leaving me lighter than I've felt since I was 16. In the quiet that follows, Nina squeezes my hand. What happens now? She whispers. I look around at the people who stood by me. Evelyn with her legal insight, Marcus with his investigation, Aunt Laura with her belated truth, Pastor Miller with his integrity. Now, I tell Nina, we start again, with the truth. Sunlight spills through the window, catching Nina's tears, but this time they reflect hope, not guilt. 3 weeks later. I unlock the door to Nina's new apartment and push it open as she wheels herself inside. Sunlight fills the space, casting golden patterns on the floor. The apartment is modest but fully accessible. Low counters, roll-under sinks, wide doorways, and a large bathroom for easy movement. Is this really mine? Nina asks, wonder in her voice I haven't heard since we were kids. All yours, I reply, setting down a box. The insurance settlement covered the first year's rent and the accessibility updates. No more asking permission to adjust your space. Nina moves through the apartment, running her hand along the counters. Her posture has changed, more confident, free from the constant weight of apology. Dad called again last night, she says quietly, pausing by the window. He sounded desperate. They should be, I reply, unpacking dishes into the cabinets. Pastor Miller told me the church board has begun an investigation, and the insurance fraud charges are coming too. Nina nods, her face showing a mix of emotions. 11 years of lies falling apart in just 2 weeks. My phone buzzes. A message from Evelyn. Financial guardianship approved. All your benefits will be properly managed now, I tell Nina, No more intercepted checks or stolen funds. She smiles and wheels toward the couch. I sit beside her. Have you been sleeping? She asks suddenly. Actually, yes, for the first time in forever. 8 hours straight. No more dreams filled with guilt or fear, she nods. I keep waking up thinking I have to call them, then remembering I don't owe anyone anything anymore. That's freedom, I say softly. Yesterday, she adds, I applied for those disability benefits they always said I'd never get. The ones they claimed needed my approval? She laughs, a sound I haven't heard in years. Exactly those. Turns out I've been eligible all along. I open another box labeled kitchen and start organizing utensils. I've enrolled in the nurse practitioner program. Nina's eyes widen. The one you've talked about for years? Starting next semester, I reply. Now that I'm not sending $2,000 out of my account every month, I can actually afford tuition and a small apartment near campus. The golden afternoon light shifts as we keep unpacking. 3 nurses from my unit arrive with dinner and extra boxes. Marcia, the charge nurse who's watched me push through countless tired shifts, hugs me tightly. We've set up a rotation to help Nina while you're in class, she says. Everyone from the unit volunteered. Nina accepts their support with tears in her eyes. I never realized how many people cared. After they leave, we sit on her new patio as evening settles. Crickets sing from the community garden below. Nina's apartment feels nothing like our parents' home. No tension, no guilt, no constant pressure of duty. For years, I thought caring meant carrying everyone's burdens, I say, watching a hummingbird hover among the flowers Marcia brought. Now I understand it means helping others stand on their own. Nina reaches for my hand. I should have told you the truth long ago. We were both trapped, just in different ways. 6 months later, I stand before a whiteboard in Denver Memorial's Trauma Center, leading orientation for new nurses. My scrubs are still blue, but everything else feels new. My small apartment near campus is filled with plants and books. My student loans are manageable. Most importantly, the weight I carried for 11 years is finally gone. Remember, I tell the group of new nurses, your first duty is to advocate for your patients. Sometimes that means standing up to family members who think they know best. After my shift, I drive to Nina's apartment for our weekly dinner. The smell of lasagna greets me as she expertly maneuvers around the kitchen from her wheelchair. How's the online program? I ask, setting my bag down. 3 A's so far, she says with pride. The disability advocacy course is my favorite. I'm helping 2 families navigate the same system our parents took advantage of. We eat at her accessible table, talking about future goals instead of past regrets. When she mentions our parents' latest attempt at reconciliation, I don't feel the old wave of anxiety. I told them what I always do, I say. I'll consider a relationship when they take full responsibility and make amends to those they hurt. Nina nods. They still talk about family duty and forgiveness, but never about accountability. Their choice, I reply, taking another bite. I don't need anyone's approval to live my own life. On the 1-year anniversary of the confrontation, Nina and I visit the city park where I used to feed stray cats as a teenager. Autumn leaves crunch beneath her wheelchair as I push her toward the clearing where the feeding station once stood. Remember when I couldn't even look at cats without guilt? I ask, guiding her over a rough patch. Nina laughs. And now we're building a support network for families facing spinal cord injuries. The Reed Sisters Foundation launched last month, funded by a settlement from our parents' insurance company. We've already helped 3 families navigate medical systems ethically, offering grants for accessibility improvements and legal aid to protect vulnerable patients. Later that evening, we attend Nina's physical therapy milestone celebration. She demonstrates her upper body strength by transferring from her wheelchair to the treatment table without help, earning applause from therapists and patients. When asked to speak, Nina moves to the center of the room. The hardest part wasn't the paralysis, she says steadily. It was living with the lies. Watching her speak with such confidence, I feel something close to peace. The truth didn't just set us free. It revealed who truly stood by us. Not the parents who demanded our loyalty, but the community that supported us once we finally spoke out. As we leave the event, Nina asks, "Do you ever think about what would have happened if Evelyn hadn't asked about the police report?" I consider it as we walk toward the car. I think the truth would have surfaced eventually. It was too heavy to stay buried. What would you do if you discovered a family member had been lying to you for years? Would you confront them directly or collect evidence first?